as we get started in this morning update, a few things to talk about. One, right off the bat, do I think that this is going to break bullish and we're on some great gravata here? Not necessarily. I still think there's a lot of optics here. Something doesn't seem to make sense here, but we'll see if we can break through. XRP pushed up to that $2.29 major resistance level. That's what it's going to have to break past. That's a major pivot point. We need to hold it. Bounce off here absolutely perfectly. And the technical target, if it bounces off and plays true, would be somewhere around $2.77, which would push us over that $2.65 mainstay pivot point. And that would be a very interesting dynamic if that were to happen. Bitcoin at the same time seems like it wants to push out, but being on a Sunday, this is generally when we have the most volatility that kind of fucks us over or brings us, to the promised land. So does this push out of here? This is the biggest question of the day. Is this gonna push out of here? And, we can claim all this stuff. We can try to figure this all out together, which we will. But right now it's on the top side, but just within a consolidatory zone. I don't know what's going to happen here. My gut tells me that I still feel like it's going to fall here, but, it is rising a little bit. As far as where it's at in pattern formation, it looks like we should have volatility, but look at XCN. XCN looked like it could have rode out. It's still not below that support, but do you feel good about this? I never was able to buy anything because looking at it, it's a tough spot here. How about that? We're in a tough spot here. Yes, this is signaling like we're on the support floor, but there's also this contradiction here because XCN's always come down to this uptrend before a further move up. It's always validated itself. Down here, boom, up, volatility out the roof, back down to volatility, but then it supports itself on the uptrend, bam, another volatile spike. And now it's like we're going through the same motion, like it wants to tap that uptrend to, to value it again. And it's like, what the hell is the point of what it's doing then? Why is it in this little, what looks like inverse head and shoulders setup? It's like, there's one of two things that are going to happen here based on what I'm seeing in the charts. One, we're about to have a blow off the top here, and it's going to be beautiful. Or two, we're having a setting point here. There's going to be some kind of escalation in the world to where it drops financial markets and they need the liquidity to sell the top, they need the top side liquidity to sell out some of these bigger positions. That's the only other opportunity or only other reasoning for what it's doing right now. Because it's working very hard to entrap a lot of people. And right now, something's not right here. Like, what's the motive here? Unless it's going to ride this out the entire way. But they always come back and try to validate themselves. So, like, the only reason I'm looking at XCN right now is because it's one that has done this twice. And now because it came through a large consolidation, pulled down at the end here, hit this uptrend, and then that's when it first started. Came all the way up here, came all the way back down to validate that uptrend again, then spiked out. Now it's like working its way back down to validate it again before another spike. And it's like, if that's what's happening, all we have to do is look for the local uptrend. From the parabolic breakouts, if we can find a fundamental setup, then we start looking across the board at the uptrends. Where were these uptrends at from the parabolic spike when it first made the break? January, February, end of January, mid-January for XCN because it took longer than some of the others. But now we look to see where these spikes and the consolidations happen. So if we're looking for uptrends of the volatility, now we go to XRP because it was one that kind of blew the cuff. But like I said, I don't trust this. I want to trust this, but I don't trust this. I want to, but why are we coming down to these consolidatory areas if we're not finishing it off? Now, were we just in like I said, if we're looking for uptrends, we can start to do that, but we would have to go all the way back for XRP, and then we would have to be like, okay, well, where did this local uptrend start? And that's what we can, I'm more than happy to look at it. Whoops. I want to look at it on this chart because it might be, well, not this one. That's going to make it way hard. And like, we're below, I already know for XRP, like, we'd be below that uptrend. Well, actually, you know what? Let me try something real quick. And I'd rather try it with everybody watching. I don't care if people are watching and like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I didn't even look at this before he said. No, I'd rather look at this with everybody. Let's go to a fresh XRP chart real quick. Let's just go to a random XRP chart and let's just see something. No, I don't want the futures chart. I just want an XRP chart, for fuck's sake. Whatever. This one will work. Sure, I never used one on here. So if we're and this is what I want to see, because look at this. We could be onto something here. This could be exactly what, if we start measuring uptrend to uptrend, look at this. That's what I was saying. If we can find some fundamentality, we might be able to figure this out in a really quick way, all across the board. And this would be great. So, bounced back across, came back down to get support, swung back up, came back down to get support, swing back out. So right now it's that uptrend. For XRP, it started in November, came back and supported it in April, came back down and supported it in June. Okay, so maybe we're looking for localized uptrends now. And we're trying to find some kind of motive. But now when you look, now listen, this is where it gets tricky, everybody. Like, don't just disappear on me. So the reason why this gets tricky is because if these are localized uptrends, now you got to find the localized downtrend. Well, for XRP, we've seen in the other chart, we already had this set up just like this, right? So now you see why that's drawn out. Well, if this is what we're basing it off of, you've got to make it or break it moment here at the pivot point at 229. You're over the top. Now you're looking to break that 229 to have the validation to move over 270. And that's what we should be watching for. So that, if you look at it like that, we have that drawn out on the first chart I showed you. That's all, where was it? Right here. That's all this is, but it starts later. But that's all that uptrend is going to end up being up here. It's not the same uptrend. Actually, I probably should draw that in. You know what? Forget. Let's get rid of all these micro movements. Oh, wait a minute. That's one of the micro, but if we draw this all the way, and I don't really want to get rid of this because you can see how these are coming together. But I can see that uptrend that's starting here. We've already got that drawn out on another one. Shit, this is the cup and handle one. No, this will be a good one to use because this was that channel. We came into that cup. I kind of wanted to keep this up here just because, yeah, you know what? We'll keep this chart because this will evolve it into what we're seeing in this next stage. So uptrend started here, validated it there, and then again in June. So April and June after the breakout in November. So that's the localized uptrend that's starting. So that's the uptrend. Does that make sense, everybody? I think this is how we should be looking at it. And it looks like this should be the localized uptrend. We got over the top here. And you can see resistance, which could make it a head and shoulders. Resistance. And this is how you break out of this and not break down. And this is why in the title yesterday, I said in the live, I don't know, not many people. Well, I mean, 1,000 people watched it, but the titles, it's the titles. It's all about the titles. So it says XRP is a sign of recovery in process. Bitcoin V-shaped recovery. How to confirm breakout. And even though it says confirm, but how to confirm it. And this is what we're doing right now. We're trying to confirm it right now. So if that's the uptrend, nice W reversal. Looks like we're pushing out. That means if you were trying to take a shot on XRP, you would simply have it and you'd have your stop loss under 206. If you want to do it on the localized uptrend, you'd have it at 211. But if you're looking for a volatile spike, I mean, this is the first candle that is showing you something. It's a breakout candle. Now, could it turn into a reversal candle by the end? It could. But this is where, like I said the other day, you're going to have to take a leap of faith if you think these are about to bounce out. I can say the same thing, and I've been watching DGB very closely, almost considering to the point where I was tempted to just put 1 million tokens, sit there, have the other liquid, and see what happens. but I haven't been able to distinguish exactly what I want to do because DGB is not like some of the other ones. Now, I can go by the same thing. Like, we've got this uptrend, but then you go back longer with DGB. Like, this is 2017. Comes back down to feel happy. And this almost makes you feel good about yourself when you start doing it like this with DGB. The only thing is if that's the case, if we start coming back down to these uptrends and we start playing that game, then it becomes a little tricky. And for DGB, because it's been so long without that magical breakout and it's still so low, you start looking at this. These are my favorite kind of days. I'm engaged, like big time. So uptrend all the way up, back down to support the uptrend, all the way back up, all the way back down to touch that uptrend. Up, back up. Now, is it going to come back down to touch the uptrend and then all the way back up? Because it seems to want to get support every time it has a failed breakout. It comes back to that uptrend. Like, look at it. Even if it has a successful breakout, where does it always find its support? Back on this localized uptrend that's gone back to 2017. So, like, does everybody see what it's starting to look like? So let me say hi to some of you. I did not realize there was 110 people in here already. Let me do the intro. Like I said, it's all about the titles. You put XRP Rallies 3.7%, targets 229 resistance as make it or break it zone. Some get excited. If I say XRP's down 17%, we have a buying opportunity of a lifetime, everybody's like, I'm not buying, I'm not watching. We're down 17%. We start railing for even a minute amount. People are like, I'll start watching a little bit. Even though yesterday there was a lot of engaged people. We had like 127 people in here yesterday, which was nice. So with that being said, good morning. 10:19 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Sunday, June 8th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. The pesky state of Michigan, where I have to do some work after this in the garden because some of my animal friends broke in last night. And they may have ate some of my stuff, a little bit of my celery or my green beans, some of the lettuce, my carrots, one of the eggplant. So now I got to put a steel galvanized fence around it, which I started, but I'm gonna have to put it's gonna be a nice fence that's gonna be around it. So it's gonna be about 2 hours of work, and I'm gonna go around the whole thing. I already started yesterday, but I had the suspicion that they were going to do this. So, got to work on that. But I thank the 43,400 plus subscribers of the channel now. It's kind of crazy to say that many people. I thank the 127 people that are watching. And let's go through this real quick because we've got a lot, as you can see, to talk about. And hopefully these uptrends are resonating because it seems like that's exactly what we're starting to do. So I want to look at XDC. I want to look at ALGO. I want to look at HBAR. I see Shane is here today. I want to look through XCN again. I was trying to wait for you yesterday morning because we talked a lot about XCN. I waited till the back half or back quarter. But anyhow, a lot of people to say hi to. Shane, welcome in. Fred Sloan, good morning. Rick, good morning. Thanks for being a very trusted mod. Defined Group, thanks for being in Town Zone for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Let's see. Sir Smoke Slot, welcome in and thanks for being in Town Zone for over 6 months with the XP Predictor. Joyce of Euler and Olive Marks, thanks for being in Town Zone for over 3 months with the XP Meteor. Trading with J-Ride, thanks for being in Town Zone for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. Absolutely amazing. Alec Tony, thanks for being in your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens, and that is my face superimposed on that emoji badge. I kid you not. Mikey Boy, welcome in. Messi, Nick Morales, good morning, friend. I'm glad to see you in here because a lot of opportunities for us to go over the charts this morning, and it is a chaotic morning nonetheless, being a Sunday. Looking like there's potential here, but at the same time, it could be trap potential. So I'm not exactly sure what the majority are doing, but we're going to talk about this, and hopefully you guys aren't afraid to speak your mind. Mickey Boy, welcome in. Messi, good morning. Nickel Trickinen, welcome. Tanya May, welcome in, love, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XRP 589 Moon Badge. I hope you're having a blessed morning so far. Richard Balkmore, welcome in. Still dealing with the nonsense in the Telegram. I get it because I am getting frustrated by it because I've been looking all week and I can't seem to find a resolution. So, unless you found one, which I doubt it. But good morning and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. AUB, welcome in and good morning, along with Jorge. Jorge, thanks for being a very trusted mod, and both of you, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XP Predictor. Jorge says, consider subscribing to Tom's channel. I concur. I would greatly appreciate it. Nick says, the weekly for XRP looks solid to me right now if it closes above 220. Amen to that. If it closes above 220 on the weekly, we close at a very decent level, in my opinion, just like your opinion, because we're over the pattern breakout and the local, the very short-term uptrend that started back here in February of 2025. So, very keen eye. God, we're in such a weird spot here. This is so... I'm just telling everybody this is trap-esque if you can see it. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully this is not trap-esque. But I swear to you, if I was setting up a trap, this is exactly how I would do it on a thinly traded weekend. So we're looking at signs of recovery, but it's also easier to put the illusion in when there's not as much trading volume. So as the day goes on, we get closer to the futures market, we're going to see if this is real or if this is not. And it's going to be interesting to follow this as the day goes on. Defined Group, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XP Meteor. Black Ox Matters, welcome in. We are all going to the moon right now. We shall see. I prefer the moon, but then again, if we get some nice consolidation, we can also pick off some beautiful, beautiful zones, which I'm not opposed to. MXC and ZBCN are getting hammered this morning, down 8.45% for MXC and 7.45% respectively for ZBCN, the Z-back network. And again, I'm looking at a few outliers here. Is something like that an outlier? Every time they seem to get pushing up here, for some reason, they just can't. What the hell? They just can't do it. And twice this weekend, they have run up and showed some signs. And now it's almost like they're showing signs of either a W reversal here, which is the crazy part, back on that uptrend, or we're looking at a bear flag. So I don't know what the hell, but I can tell you this. We're probably early. And if this is a breakout, we could probably localize a tap at 125 if this is going to try to show that this is actually a descending consolidation. So we're finding out a lot this weekend. And in thinly traded weekends, I love having people here because this is where the market starts to show you the optics. So we're going to continue to go over this XRP chart because it's fascinating. I think this is all fascinating this weekend. I think you're going to have a lot of mental wherewithal. A lot of people are going to come in and be like, nope, not on a Sunday. I'm out of here. I make XRP great again. I'm excited for movement too because up, down, left, to right, at least we're making some moves. But we're still stuck in this heavy consolidation. Let's see. James Dula, thanks for coming back to Tom's Army for over 2 months with the XP Meteor. And he felt the need to re-up for Tom's Army because, like I said yesterday, I knew he was going to eat my carrots. Isn't it everything I mentioned yesterday that James was about to eat back there in the backyard? So what I perceive as an animal, it's actually one of the members in Tom's Army who might have went out on a limb too much, and now he's living in the garden. And I can tell because he's eating all my food. I can't even get a damn harvest with this guy back there. But I appreciate your commitment to going in your 2nd month in Tom's Army. This guy's like a little fucking, it's like a groundhog back here. We call him Ernie, our groundhog, but really it's James. I should change the name to James. Bringing his... David Kennedy, good morning, and thanks for being in here as always. I love it. Valentino, welcome. I love that name, Valentino. Said, what about ZBCN? We be talking about ZBCN, and we'll do it right now. Let's see. I be killing it. Welcome in. Damn, I want that switch to... Let's see. Tom, do you think if I unsubscribe? I think so. I think try to unsubscribe. Try to delete the Telegram. And somehow we got to be able to send me, like I said, even if you want to send it on here, send me your Telegram name spelled out 100% so that I can try to type it in 100%. Or if you can find, like, sometimes they give you a number next to your name in stupid Telegram. Meaningful mentality, welcome in. Any thoughts on XCN? Looks like we may have. Yeah, that's what we're trying to see if XCN's the outlier here. That and data. Because if it goes, it does feel like we're going to break down to the uptrend. That's absolutely correct. And every time XCN, that's why we went back in the chart to the initial breakout in 25. And it goes up, bounce back for the support in April, bounce back up and had a volatile spike. Came back down to the uptrend in June. Well, we're trying to see if it'll come back down in June. So absolutely, there's a strong possibility that can happen. And as far as ZBAC, love the questions. ZBAC, I'm still targeting that breakdown to 0-0, either 3-3 like Nick was saying. A lot of validity there. Or that 0-0-2-1 and some change where we never gap back down. And it's just like the same logic I used at the 0-0-1-4 gap when we didn't gap back down before we bought back in before the volatile spike up. And then sold out after the volatile spike up so we didn't have to ride any of this mess. Now it looks like a bear flag. It really does. It looks like a bear flag. But you can never be too sure until it actually breaks down. But damn it, that looks like an M-topping reversal. And it's going to have to prove it to me that it's not. How about that? And once you get to these points in the market, it's got to prove it to me that I need to buy back in. Not the other way around. We already made substantial gains the way up in this bull market when we had it. So now this is technically kind of in a bear market. And I know it's crazy to think that, but even from where it's at now, even with the slight recovery, you're down 35%, 37%. That's clearly a bear market. Even with this huge spike up, and this is what a lot of the newcomers, 92%. Listen to me, please. 92% of traders who trade every single day, 92% lose money. If you trade every day for more than 6 months, you lose money. I'm not making that up. 92% if you trade every day for more than 6 months. I'm not talking about the institutions who buy and then 6 months later, if it drops, they buy again. And then it goes up and they buy again, you know, and they're buying the same range until a big. I'm talking about if you are a daily trader, you are going to lose, except are you the exception of 8%? You can argue with the statistics, but you have to ask yourself, can you be one of those 8%? I can't. Did you hear what I just said? I can't. Because daily trading, day by day, day over day, it's too much. In crypto, it's about timing the market, not time in market. That's why all of my success, except for some that you guys have watched for 4 years, has always come from a standpoint of, remember last year? Winning Wednesdays, FOMO Fridays, motivating Mondays. Does everybody remember that? We were buying 3 days a week in the bear market or in the accumulation phase. If you try to trade every single day, you're going to lose. Even I'm going to lose. And for me to say that, it should speak volumes. And yes, I've turned a $5,000 portfolio into 6 figures and then some in front of all of you. That's true. And I've ascertained it into the spots, or I've moved it to where it needs to go. And now we've built a $45,000 mining portfolio. And we've built what we have in crypto. And we built blah, 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 yada, yada. But that's not because of daily trading. That's because of being in the market. And like right now, I pulled myself out of the market 75% in December or January to let this play out. But I involved myself heavily in the mining sector. And I went, gold and silver went, you know, it's all about the cycles. Now we're getting into another flip soon. It's just, I'm sorry. We've not seen 2 factors. One, we have not seen quantitative easing. Yes, we've had certain factors of quantitative easing, but we haven't had the behind the scenes, yes, quantitative easing, because they're buying up the bond markets. We can see the nooks and crannies of what's coming. But we still need that volatile liquidation of retail in crypto, in the stock market, in the bond market, in the currency market, in the US dollar. We need this all to be weak so then they can, oh my God, the US citizens are struggling. We need to go into quantitative easing. We need to have rate cuts. And Trump now, what did I say before? The next rate cut's not going to be 25 or 50. It's either going to be 75 or 100 basis points. Trump came out yesterday or the day before and said we need 1% move down. That's 100 basis points he wants. He wants a full 1% move down, a full 100 basis points, and the next time they cut. Imagine they don't cut here in June, and we go to the end of the third quarter, like I said. What do you think is going to happen in August? When we're getting closer to Christmas time, closer to all this, and everybody's fucked. Well, so expect the unexpected. Expect the unexpected. And that's why they like the volatile swings. That's why Sundays are so beautifully volatile. It seems like nothing but up can happen, right? Every Sunday. Like right now, you're looking at the chart and you're like, you know what? Held that uptrend. Held the little consolidation. Bitcoin bounced off it. Even had to come down this morning. But what we're not realizing is all the way up to 108K is gravy, because that's the pattern. And then you can even say, well, Tom, if you're actually looking at this, and I'm waiting for it, you can even look at this now with the swing down, and you can be like, well, I'm waiting for someone to say it. You can either look at it like that, right? And be like, oh, it's starting to fall out. Or I'm waiting for somebody to say it the other way. This is why, sure, you can look at it 100 different ways from Sunday, but don't they generally fill out quite the same? Sure, you might have a lower support or a higher resistance. Well, the resistance will stay the same. A higher support. But if this is what we're fundamentally drawing out, don't we understand 3 hits on support and resistance to validate a pattern? So even if we come up to 108K, what the hell does it matter if we don't break out? This would just validate another breakdown if it doesn't break out. That's why we're in such a weird spot here. And then I hear some people saying right now, some of the conversation this weekend's been the, oh, well, we can't trust the breakout. There's no volume. I hate to break it to you, on a weekend, you don't need volume. That's the tricky part. You're not going to know if it's real or no volume because it's a thinly traded weekend. So you're never going to have what looks like a good amount of volume on a breakout. It's always going to look like a fake out, no matter what on a weekend. Even if it's the mainstay, it's still going to look like a fake out on the weekend. Even if it's the ultimate move, it's still going to look like a fake out on the weekend because there's no volume. It's always going to be like that. And then on the weekend, even if it's small volume and it looks big, you got to remember there's no volume typically, so a small move in volume will make it look huge on the weekend. So there's all of it. So which way is it? So when I draw the charts, I could draw 150 different charts. I'm trying to draw the ones that make the most sense. And this makes sense to me that it's setting up like this. Now, is it necessarily bearish? Not necessarily. If it does this right, not necessarily, but if it does it right, you know, I mean, you're talking about some kind of movement here. And the one question I'm going to continue asking you, if that is not an M-topping reversal and we break out, does that mean at 122 we just stop the initial breakout, or 123? Does it invalidate the movement to 154 if we don't come back down into an inverse right shoulder? Like, this is all the questions I ask myself on a daily basis. I would love it to come to 89.6 or 90. I'm just telling you straight up, I would love to see that movement, because then you've got this massive inverse head and shoulders. And yeah, why do I have a target down at 61.9? That's in case it turns into a head and shoulders topping reversal, the big M topping reversal. Because if it comes down, there's always the illusion it could do that. So what if we talk about the first 28 minutes? Localized uptrends, optics, what could happen with the environment we're in? And the one thing I haven't talked about is Ethereum. Ethereum is probably the gatekeeper here, like I've been saying. Unless we're over that 2,600, Ethereum is technically bearish because we're underneath, in my opinion, and we drew it out well before the rising wedge even became a factor, when it was going up towards 4,000. We said, well, what if this is a rising wedge and we're early and it breaks down? And it broke down. And then we said, well, even if it's bearish, we're going to come back up and retest that wedge, which we have. And if it breaks down and it wants to stay bullish, we can see the mechanics setting up. We got the left side setting up, the head setting up. Now the right side just needs this set up. Tap here at 2,000 area and a tap here at 2168, and you are set. You are golden. The trading bots would have effectively filled this in. The only way they can come down farther, and remember, they're always using trading bots and algorithms. So it mimics itself. That's why it's tricky. Because you would expect it to mimic itself, maybe even down to 1787, but it's already filled it out here, so I'm not too worried about that. It hasn't filled this or this out. It's coming up. It has a golden cross. So that's why we have to give it a little bit of feasibility. In the daily time frame, there's a golden cross. We back tested the 200-day. The 50 has now crossed the 100, which doesn't really mean dick. We need the 50 to come through the 200 for any kind of further validation. But we're in the weekly, we're trying to see, in fact, if we have a death cross. And I'm going to tell you right now, that weekly looks scary as fuck to me in Ethereum. And you may not be seeing this, but these are weekly candles trying to push up. There's downward wicks suggesting exhaustion and 4 straight weekly candles. Up, back down, up, back down, up, back down. Now this looks like a weekly reversal. That's kind of hidden right now. Does that, am I missing something? So that's a scary candle. The daily is showing you a potential golden cross that's about to play out, while the weekly is showing you a potential reversal candle and a death cross looming. Technically, the higher time frame should be paid attention more. So this is scary as fuck to me. I think there's a trap being set right before our very eyes, but hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. Ringneck says, I ran out of zone picking money. I'd rather just move up. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Shane says, make room in that box. You're going to have to make room for me too soon. I'm going to spend all my funds on trying to keep these sons of bitches out. I'm going to have to join you. Friejo, welcome in. Jane Doe, is it possible to look at Flare? Looks like wait for a better price. Absolutely, love. I can absolutely look for you, Jane. Jane Doe, as a matter of fact, huh? Interesting. The only Jane Does I knew were unknown. Small joke. Let's see. 01815. Oh, yeah. I don't like that chart necessarily. Let me go to a... And they're not all going to be feasible. I don't know. The problem is every single day, you're increasing the supply of flare. Every single day by virtue, because they give you free flare. So, by virtue, you're always going to have price appreciation moments, but you're always going to get the depreciation. So this is what you're looking at with flare. Just like with the rest, it's trying to make an attempt. That candle in the weekly right now, that's not a good one. To me, that almost lines up like a bearish doji. Because that's... Although you had a hanging candle the week before. I don't know. It don't seem right to me. All of this doesn't seem right for some reason. Now, flare, yeah, it started a localized uptrend, so it would have to break this little uptrend. And all I mean by that when I say it, because there's a nice inverse head and shoulder set up here. That's the problem. A lot of these are setting up this inverse right shoulder. So basically, if you stay on and use that uptrend, you'll go to the top of this circle, or the top of this formation, which would be up here at about 3 cents. Which from here, whoops, here, let me put this one in here. Which one did I use? Did I use this one? What the hell is this? Multi-collateral perpetual futures contract. Well, that would be an interesting. We'll watch it in a fast pace. That's fine. We'll watch it in the fast pace. This shows possibility here on an inverse head and shoulders that as long as that uptrend holds, you come up to 3 cents here, at least to tap it. You could either revalue the resistance or try to break out. But you've had you've had 2 taps on this uptrend so far. 2 taps on resistance. So the more likely scenario, if it comes up here, would be a resistance tap here and then back down here, or just fall through and hit the 3rd time so you can come up for the 3rd. It's tough. Can't really say either way because you're below the 200-day in the daily. You are showing signs of a little bit of a push up here in the daily, in the candle at least, to start the day, but monthly has started out very interesting. Weekly, I mean, there's a lot to be desired for sure, but Just pay attention to that localized uptrend. A lot of these are in the exact same situation, so it's pretty interesting where we're sitting right now. Tom, can you define group localized support? Are you talking about for XRP? I'll wait to see your comment below. I wish I could have bought ZBCN with you guys. Hey, it's not going to be the last opportunity. There'll be more like that, and there'll be more just like when we wrote MXC right after that. There'll be a lot of these guys. This isn't the only time this is going to happen. This is what I do. I look for opportunity. I take opportunity. I sell that opportunity when everybody thinks opportunity is going to continue, and I wait for opportunity to represent itself on the same token while everybody else is bailing. That's what I do. Nobody wants it is when I buy it, and when everybody wants it is when I sell it, and it seems to line up pretty nicely. Hi, buddy. So somebody asked about the Telegram. Hey, bud. There's the Telegram, if you're wondering. I just set it in there. I encourage you to join the Telegram, because then even if they don't show them live and things like that, you can still see my content. So Irish, that's right there if you're looking for to get in there. Shane, while it's crazy, that's why I buy and holds. I suck at trading, that's why I buy. Most people do suck at trading. Especially when you do it, you know, it's the reason why it's hard to trade every single day and be a daily, you know, just be a daily trader. You know, you're going to trade the market on a daily basis is because you go into FOMO and fear. It happens all, like right now. Are you in FOMO or fear? Kind of in a neutral spot. Like, I don't sell my XRP I have it, you know. So, XRP's rare. I don't have to worry about that. I already made what I needed to on the other XRP holdings I had on the modern part of the rally. It's just, right now you're looking around the board and like, don't you think I feel it with DGB? And don't you think I feel it with IOTA and ALGO? I feel it in a lot of ways with some of these, like especially IOTA and ALGO. And DGB, because they are showing these signs. And IOTA is well undervalued. But at the same time, their breakdowns that they had in these small parts, you can expand these into bigger patterns now, absolutely. And now it's nice because you don't have to guess. Because you can just kind of run the pattern now, like, hey, we had that support. Now watch how this works. Yeah, we had the short-term breakout of that little part of the pattern. Now you just start to ride these resistance. And like, that's where we kind of mess up here. Because now we're trying to act like, okay, are we breaking out or what are we doing? But we haven't got any kind of validation. So yeah, what's going to end up happening here is it's going to look nice. If it comes up, it'll come up to 20 cents. But are we doing anything different? So now I start to look at, okay, well, where's the uptrend? What's the uptrend? Well, that's a beautiful inverse head and shoulders. That's what's getting me right now. So if you're trying to be forward thinking, some of these dive down quicker than others. And like you go back to November of 24, you come to the uptrend. Let's line this up properly. Hey, TT. So, I mean, how are we supposed to, what do we make of this? Like, an IOTA also like to come back to the uptrend and show itself some value. So it's like, what do we really make of this? If we start looking at this from a longer perspective, like, what are we making of this? And that's why I always ask the audience, what do we make of this? Because you can see as well as I do, we haven't broke out yet. In fact, we're kind of in no man's land, like I've been saying. And if you cut it through the guts, you could technically get a rejection right around 19 cents. So it's like, what are we supposed to make of this? And like, to the 125 of you that stayed around, I commend you, because the ones who are leaving, when you come into information like this, do you know how much most people charge to get this kind of a breakdown? Like, I'm being dead serious. Like, I think a lot of people take it for granted, and one day you won't, because one day it won't be here by virtue. We'll either be too far in the process, YouTube will remove me, you know, something. But this is the kind of stuff people pay a lot of money for. Then they end up getting the fan systems and they end up getting all this nonsense. And instead of just learning on your own, like, you can learn. I can learn. I don't know everything, but I know more today than I did in 21 because I've been doing it every day. I know more because of all of you as well, because you've been sharing everything. And right now it's like, what part of this are we in? Because you could draw the 7 ways to Sunday, but really all that matters is the wider thing that I drew out, the uptrend and the downtrend. Until we break either side, we can't break out or break down. So there can't be a volatile spike or breakdown. Like, it's just stuck in the middle. It's stuck. But these are, when they're stuck in the middle, is where you have to buy it. Like DG or ALGO, not stuck in the middle now. ALGO is actually breaking out. And to an extent, so is IOTA, because we've got these inverse head and shoulders. It's a lot clearer, though, on ALGO of where it's at in the pattern. And we're talking about, you know, look how big that inverse head and shoulders is. So my question to you is, would you buy ALGO here at 19 cents? And then would you buy it again? Or would you wait because you're looking at it in the weekly saying, well, that's kind of a weekly candle that doesn't make me feel so great. If it ends right here, it's not going to be so hot. But we have 9 hours and 10 minutes. If we get some kind of surge here, this isn't going to be so bad because we are on the outside of this pattern and trying to backtest the breakout like XRP. Our next target would be up at 30 cents roughly if we could break up and then up to 38. Those are our next 2 big targets. 3 hour looks like it's starting to break out of an inverse pattern. Look, inverse head, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Looks like a breakout's imminent. On the top side. So, I mean, there is ways. There's ways to look at this. And then if you're like, you know what? I'm not going to ride this too far. Well, if it breaks the back test, then you can get out. But if you're looking at a pattern buy, this is what you're technically looking at. That's where the confusion comes in. Not all of these are in the same scenario as the others. I would argue that ALGO and IOTA are starting to find themselves a little bit of traction because they're put in this inverse head and shoulders. And IOTA is just a little bit behind where ALGO was at to break out and back test. And it's almost like we're at the back 20% of some of these. So if you're asking me what I would do with the accumulation today, I would take a very hard look at ALGO. I would take a very hard look at IOTA. I would even take a very hard look at DGB. Because if these are the start of these reversals, they've come down to pattern support. And on the wider parts of these patterns, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting because we've been patient and haven't these cleared out a lot of the liquidity below. Sure, they didn't go to our bottom numbers, but they definitely formed these inverse right sides. So it is very trap-esque, but it's very volatile. That trap feeling could just be so more people don't buy. So I've left you with a lot to think about here. Portfolio says basically you are number 1 at what you do. Check. Stay consistent. Thank you for that. If there's one thing I know is consistency. I started this March 24th of 2021. And by the grace of God, I have not missed a single day yet. Yes, I have a warning on my account that could turn into a week suspension if they give me another one. And they always target old content because, you know, what are you going to do? So I'm very consistent. It's the only way to do it. I agree with that, portfolio. Shane says, I'm hoping XCN to run when it hits this uptrend and jumping on ICP. I agree with you. I'm looking at XCN very hardcore if it comes in an uptrend. I really do. I wonder how ALGO will go if we get an alt season, maybe $1.30. If ALGO gets an alt season, you are going to be very happy. It's not a matter of if, it's when and at what price point. This makes me feel like when we were having FOMO Fridays. What if we started Take a Leap Sunday? And I know it doesn't rhyme like the rest, but Take a Leap Sunday. You know, sometimes in Take a Leap, you have to have some forward thinking. I can look at ICP. I actually did yesterday, I believe. I mean, we came down to the uptrend. That's why I was so like, Okay, well, we've already supported. We got inverse head and shoulders yesterday. So I'm like, if you're going to take a shot here, this would be the time. Because, like, you've already come to the localized uptrend that started in, like, mid-24. So, I mean, ICP's already given it all back, and now it's trying to support that uptrend. If you break down that resistance that I have up there, the short-term resistance, but that's why you have to have forward thinking. Now it's up 5% from yesterday. Now it would be up over $6. And it's already tapped this uptrend a few times. And it looks like an inverse pattern setting up. So definitely something going on. I think something could be going on across the board. It's just, I want everybody to be careful when they're doing this and pay attention to their bailout levels. Because right now is an absolute opportunity. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's just a matter of, are you looking in the right spot? BITUNIX shows me the 200 moving average at 0.00 on Ethereum. Interesting. Not sure about that. I don't know. I'm not sure about that, to be honest with you. That seems weird. Jane said, thank you so much for looking at Flare. Oh, you're welcome. Appreciate you asking. I like when everybody's asking questions. Especially the ladies in the audience, because it shows engagement. How about looking at something new like Kernel? I don't know what that is, and I don't have the time for that today, but I will definitely take a look at it. Kernel has a massive downtrend. I'll definitely have to look at that more.
Gardens.
What?
Said there's lots of gardens, so it looks like
Lots of what?
your order was being.
Oh, good. I need it because, you know, I'm going to need...
Bags.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to need more now. I'm going to have to put a fucking fortress around this place. Build a 10-foot wall. And it's like, I just don't know at this point. I just don't know. I've been here so many times where they make it look like this. We're below the resistance levels, and then all of a sudden it drops fucking 15%. You're like, what happened? But I've also been here where you're below and you get that volatile spike out. Like XRP spiked out, and it's back tested. XDC, I still want to say it comes down to that level where you have the death cross happening. The 50 came through the 200. The 100 came through the 200. Or no, the 100's about to come through the 200. I'm sorry. 20 and 50 have, but not the 100 yet. It almost looks like it's just back testing the last part of the move. And once XDC gets down there, that's my buy. And it's like, I can't cut it off here because I drew it off. And it's like, I drew these for a reason. And it's showing this for a reason. But at the same time, it's trying to make you bounce outside of your understanding. I don't like to bounce outside of my understanding because that's where I get in trouble. So, we'll see what happens. I'm definitely going to look at this through and through. Mark Caston, thank you. He says, you've taught us well. I appreciate that. And also for the fact you've been in Tom Army for well over a year now with the I Told You So badge. Tanya says she's still here as well. I love it. So glad to see you in the audience. Like that song by the Steelers, Wheel Stuck in the Middle with You. Isn't that the truth, Florida attorney? Isn't that the truth? I know, Wales, that's my dilemma as well with ALGO and IOTA because I've got that charted as well. And it's like, how could I possibly buy it before it does that little downturn if it happens? It's like, I don't... And it's all like this. It's like, are you kidding me right now? Like, are you kidding me right now is what I keep asking myself. And it's like, I am in fact not kidding you, Tom. And it's only because we see the history of what's presented itself. We can't help that. We know where it likes to come back down to, even for ALGO, when it's getting its support. Like, everything has its defined support. Like, you can say that it's starting some kind of uptrend like this if you want. I'd say it's probably fair like that. And if that happens, I mean, are we really... That's the uptrend. That's what we're talking about. And I know 14.6 is higher. And that's kind of just back testing it on the way back down. And I understand what you're saying. Because I agree. With a lot of this, I agree. You can't really get out of this until you get out of it. And like what I would do here, the only reason that I could see myself moving this up like this is because that's where we bounced off right here. And I'd like to see where it had the consolidation and the actual bounce. But yeah, I mean, It's tricky. It is tricky as hell. Because right now we are getting that back test. And if it does bounce out of here, nobody knows if it's going to go back down there. Because if, let's say, it goes to 30, now it's got to have a 50% breakdown. Gazelle Wed says, my bro, I can't believe it's taking me so long to find you. Thanks so much. Appreciate what you up to. I'm joining Tom's Army soon. Been day trading way too long. Oh, I appreciate the fact that you find it a blessing to find me on this Sunday. I love it. We do have very deep discussions into this. And, you know, right now, ALGO does look like it's at that point. You know, it does. Everything looks like we're kind of at that point where we're back testing. We've done it for, in ALGO's case, we've done it for a matter of, let's see, since May 10th. Boom. Back below, back above, back below, back above, back below. So we're trying to show support of this downtrend. 70% of the move, I'd say we're there. This seems to be 70% of the move's been taken care of in this consolidation. Usually breakout or down 70% of the move, and we're on the out trajectory. Man, oh man, is this going to be tough this week. It's almost like there's one way or the other, there's looming news coming. I'm telling you right now, big news is going to be announced probably this week. Whether it's a de-escalation or a further escalation, we can't be sure. But something is in the works right now. You can see it in all the charts. There's just some kind of volatile build-up happening right now, and it's pretty nice to watch in real time. Crypto Scrooge, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 4 years. With the XRP Phoenix badge, holy smokes, is it amazing to see some of you in it for that long. How's it going, Tom? I will have to watch from the beginning, brother. I encourage you to watch it from the beginning today. Anybody who's watching, I encourage you to watch it from the beginning. And these are one of those days on Volatile Sundays where you'll probably get a second live when the futures market comes back online before 8 o'clock. Just assuming everything's going good in the house and, you know, I get all my stuff outside taken care of because that comes first. Before I can do a second, because I got to take care of what I got to take care of. But going to today feeling blessed because we could have a spike here. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's coming. It's coming. You know, something big's coming. Whether we come down or not to that next level, something is coming. Yeah, Lobster wallet's fine. You just have to be very careful on Lobster if you're an amateur because there's a lot of fake wallet addresses and a lot of fake tokens they put on there that emulate and imitate the real token. So just be very careful. But yeah, it's not a bad option. XRM is technically loves being built into that infrastructure. John Page, MACD, and RSI looking better indeed. Indeed, some things are starting to turn around. Jamal will take a look at ZBCN right now again. Ricky Ricardo said, my neighbor, the banker, says ZBEC is the next XRP. I've been telling everybody with ZBEC, it's got a massive opportunity. That's why we've been in it and out of it and letting it retrace. I'm trying to find the next perfect buy. And I think we've got two areas. Because that looks like an M topping reversal, and it's going to have. And what it's doing is it's having big spikes up 5 to 7x, and then it's coming back down 75% to clear out the back test, and then it's having another surge up and then another back test. And the next one is either going to be 0033 if it plays true, or 0021 to clear that out entirely, that last gap. I tend to believe probably the lower level, but I can't get it out of my head that 0033 because Nick talks about it, so that's why I put it up there. And I can see the validity of it. You got a very strong uptrend that rides through that level. So, wouldn't be unfounded. It would not be unfounded. But everybody, I bet you all know I'm wrapping this up. Algo generally, I'm glad you remember. That's my dilemma with Algo. It does pump a lot through low volatility, through low volume. We've seen it in its price history before. I mean, look at these run-ups here from down here at 14 cents all the way back up to 25. How much volume was there? Non-existent. You know, we've seen the history on drop downs, but to me, what the biggest factor here is I was waiting for the back test because it's an inverse head and shoulders. I think it's built it out the entire way unless it invalidates it. That's the problem here. We could be sitting on 14 cents while it's at 19, but if it's actually filled it out like we were thinking, remember when I drew the first circle? I used to have the head drawn out and we had it out into the future. We had the head circled. And then we said if it comes back in back test, you know, when it breaks down out and back test, you'd have to get something like that. Now it's doing it. It just didn't come all the way up so volatilely. It came up here and then it rode it. Now the next back, the volatility could be up there. It looks like left shoulder, head, right shoulder formation. Are you going? Okay, be safe. Have fun. Bye. So, that's what I'm looking at. Man, everybody's leaving like, they're dropping off like flies. Guess nobody wanted to see the last couple of minutes. You're welcome, George, and thanks for being in Tom Zone for 6+ months with the XP Meteor. And the $1.99 donation said, Tom, thanks for everything you do. We appreciate you. I appreciate you too, my friend. ACH, which is Alchemy Pay, I'm a very big fan of. Just, it's rode that uptrend down, and then, or the downtrend, you know, on the technical back test, but it broke out of here, which meant that we're looking for a bounce back to the uptrend, which is somewhere around 1.7 cents. That's how close everything is. That's why it's so volatile. So freaking volatile. So, man, is it a crazy time we're in. Gray, welcome in. I encourage everybody to watch this from the beginning. I'm going to go do some work outside. I'll do a short soon. Then we'll be back. We'll be back. Meatball, you're welcome, friend. We'll be back. I promise. Look at my homepage. Join BITUNIX. Join BLOFIN. Join some of the other ones that have some of the tokens you want. Still working on this. It's in beta testing for a couple more days. Have issues that I need worked out. But this is the website. It's very user-friendly. Got a lot of built-in APIs. There's stuff for you to do here. If you're looking on TradingView, you don't need to do it. If you want to go to the website, you can look at anything. We just talked about ACH. We just talked about a lot of these. I set it up to where you can just hit crypto, stock, funds, futures. So it's imitating just like how TradingView is. I have the API set up in real time. Click on any exchange you want. Click on any of it you want. You can see market cap. You can see the day's range, key stats, yada, 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 so on and so forth. So you can see it. You know, you can look through it, get familiar with this, start to look through it. You know, you got all the different things with the Bitcoin, the market caps, and all of this. You know, and you can look through, you can get a lot of stuff, my latest technicals, and then all this other stuff. BITUNIX, a nice way to join BITUNIX up here. That's why I put it in here, because I do think it's the way to go, especially with how things are going. But there's a lot of things that still need to be corrected here. Like, you know, there's a lot of things. It's just in the beta. So if you have anything you see, make sure. I know that should be Future Millionaire on the top. I know there's a few things that aren't working the way I would exactly want. But there's so much stuff to look at here. So much stuff to look at. It even shows how many tokens are available still with all of these. And you can match it up the way you want. Like XRP, there's 58.82 billion tokens available. For the United States digital currency, you can look. If you're a fan of Jasmine, all of this. HBAR has 42.24 billion tokens available. Total tokens are 50 billion. Traded volume is 82.37 million, and the change is up 1.49% on the day. If you're a fan of Kronos, which is in the crypto.com economy or the ecosystem, you know, there's 29.8 billion tokens available. There's a lot of different ways to start looking through this. Just a way to stay together. I'll be able to do lives and updates on here as well. So, and yeah, 224, but 229 is the main pivot point. 224 was in real time. You got to update the real time though. In real time, it's not 224 anymore. That pivot point remains at 229, but in real time, because of where we're at, the 225 was over. Now it's down to 215. It's got to stay over to be that volatile swing. 225 is nice, but 229 is the main pivot point. This looks like we're having some volatility to the upside. And it's not just XRP. I'm telling you guys, like if these play out, this is good. This is good. So just, it's hard though, because you got to pay attention because we have this weird momentum here where some of them look like they're continuing down, but some of them are starting to have this volatility. So if we get this surge, it'll be very nice. And then some of these that look like they're going to break down further could, in the short term, start to reverse. So XCN is technically at the very bottom of its pattern unless it comes to the uptrend. So this is where you have to make a decision. Do you buy it at 141 or do you wait to see if that uptrend comes, even though the pattern consolidation suggests it's right at the consolidation on an inverse right shoulder? So that's the question. So a lot of questions to be asked. I'll be curious where it's at later today and next time we talk where it's at. So have a blessed one, everybody. Thank you so much, Papa Wheelie. Enjoy it. Joe Dirt, welcome in. And just stay in tune.